Okay, so what does LMNTS mean? What's missing in this word here are all consonants. What's missing? What's missing here? It's an actual question that you have to answer, everyone. What's missing, Ivana? Here. What's missing here? How do you?
I don't know how it's called in English, but it's this A E I O U.
Okay. So how would you read this? It's LMNTS, right? But it's also without uh, the E vowel, you still read it as elements or LMNTS, okay? So what's this is text speak. This is a way to shorten certain words. Okay, I don't really subscribe to text speak. When I text in whole words. Okay, especially now with smartphones. Even back then, when I'm using that small phone, okay, my friends get annoyed when I text in whole words, in whole sentences instead of text speak. Anyway, to continue, let me give you a little bit of introduction with the topic. Okay, minimalistic. Nowadays, the trend for graphic design, for logo design, for brochures, and everything else is minimalistic. Meaning, there's not much clutter. There's not much things going around. It's mostly straightforward. Okay, you're not bogged down by a lot of details anymore. Unlike back then, when you say graphic designers will slam everything on the page. Okay, slam everything we can on the page, and the layout becomes tight. It looks crowded. It looks cluttered. Okay, now even in branding and graphic design, the minimalistic approach is also applied or applicable for that matter. Now, when a product or identity becomes well known, it becomes its own identifier. Meaning, if I show you a certain bottle that has a curved shape, okay, I'm just describing to you the shape of the bottle. What does it remind you of? What comes to mind? An actual question, Edward. What comes to mind when I describe to you this shape of a bottle? Soft drinks. It's unique to that.
Yes.
Yes. Let me annotate. Sorry. Anyway, the shape of the bottle looks like, sexy. What bottle would that be? What soft drink would that be?
Coke.
Coke,
You
okay?
first my
Okay? The shape of the bottle becomes Coke's own identifier. Meaning, if you see that bottle somewhere, it will remind you of Coke. If another soft drink uses that shape, what will Coke or Coca-Cola do?
they'll change their shape of the Coke so they could have that own identity of the
Coke?
product,
Coke? Will Coke change their shape, or is it what will Coke do?
or change their label.
No, it's like this. Coke owns the shape. Coke owns the name. Coke owns the swoosh symbol and the Coca-Cola calligraphic script form. Okay, they own everything. what will Coke do when they see someone infringing on their identity?
Okay. They will, kakasuhan or infringement of, of their image or their product. Parang
Okay,
ginagaya nila. Yes.
okay. So we have Ivana here. So let's try to
Mm.
speak in English. Kakasuhan in English, Ivana means sue. Okay, Coke will sue that company that use or infringe on their intellectual property. Okay, so that's part of identity. Now, uh, when you see this, you already know that it's Pringles. Now, what are the identifying marks of the Pringles brand? What are the identifiers of Pringles?
The
You have
logo,
the logo. Okay,
logo,
if we remove the logo, okay, what's left? If we remove the branding itself, what's left?
the color and the shape of
Okay,
the package.
okay. So mute yourself, Edward, please. Please mute,
I mean, okay.
mute. Okay. So without the logo, without the branding marks, without the images, all you have left now are the the shape, which is a canister, and the two colors. Okay, what are those two colors? Aliyah.
Green and red.
Yes, green and red. But what does that remind you of?
Food.
Food.
Yeah.
It's almost that time of year.
Christmas.
Christmas. Okay. Christmas is actually red and green is actually more identified with Christmas. Okay, but of course, Pringles kinda owned those two colors when they introduced the product. Okay, so the colors itself, when you see red and green, and then you're thinking of the canister, okay, you're thinking Pringles. Has anyone else used the same format, red and green, and then canister? So far, we haven't seen any other product of similar nature using that same format and colors for that matter. Now, something uh, something beyond the simplistic. Okay, we even Pringles' more complicated design is still simplistic, meaning it's not too cluttered. But there are products that are image and effects heavy. Okay, they have radical design. They draw your attention, and of course, an additional element or two can change the layout altogether. So this is your comparative to the simplistic. This is not simplistic anymore. Although some will argue that it's still a little bit simplistic because you can still see everything. Okay, but this is already a complex layout because you have a few things going on there. We have a little bit of clutter, but still it's properly laid out that there's no element interfering with each other. Okay, I've already mentioned the word element. Now, elementary, dear Watson. Okay, as it turns out, the who said this? Okay, uh, YS, what's your first name? Yvonne? Is it Yvonne?
Yvonne. Yes,
Okay,
Yvonne.
Yvonne. Okay, Yvonne. Uh, who said this famous line? Elementary, dear Watson. The character was played by Robert Downey Jr. and uh, Stephen Strange. Who played Stephen Strange? Bernard Cumberbatch. Bernard? Was it Bernard? Benedict Cumberbatch. Sorry. You don't know? You're not familiar with the characters they both played?
Sherlock. Sorry. Sherlock.
No worries.
Sherlock.
You can chime in anytime, okay? But remember, just mute yourself afterwards, okay? So again, this was supposedly said by Sherlock Holmes. Apparently, nowhere in the book did he say this. I think this was a later add-on to the character. Okay, originally he did not say this. It was an add-on. Now, anyway, when we say elementary, okay, we're talking about this. What do you suppose? What do you see on the screen? What are these? The shape first. Describe the shape first. What do you see? Ivana, what do you see?
Where's?
Squares. Do you agree? Yvonne, Aliyah, and Edward, do you agree? Okay.
Yes.
We have a set of squares. Now, what is the color of the squares? Everyone.
Gray. Green.
Gray.
Gray.
What kind of gray? It's a never mind, okay? Uh, when we say what kind of gray, okay, you won't be able to identify the exact gray, but this looks like kind of light gray, right? Okay, and it has a certain gradient border. All of those squares individually have uh, a gradient border, making it look three-dimensional. But what are these about? What are these gray squares with a gradient border all about? Can anyone guess? Imagine yourself back in high school.
Yeah, I think it's the tablet of the chemical elements.
Periodic table of elements.
Periodic table of elements. Everyone agrees? Everyone agrees?
Yes.
Okay, so this is supposedly the periodic table of elements. Now, when I was doing this exercise previously, no one can guess because they cannot recall this in high school, that they took this in high school. When I added this, someone had an idea. Okay, it looks familiar. I had this in college. But of course, one of them was a chemical engineering student. So when I added this, she already knew what I was pertaining to uh, in this graphic. Now, of course, each individual element here, the silver, the gray box, the colors, and the text are added elements. And the entire thing is uh, an infographic for the periodic table of elements. Now, this is not really updated. I know there's a new element somewhere here that was added recently in Iron Man 2, correct? Never mind. Okay, it was a joke. So, it's easier to find an element in the periodic table if you know where they are placed. Usually they're color coded, and of course, the main indicator, the main identifier for an element, okay? Without the text, it's still hard to identify the elements, regardless of position in the table. But of course, a chemical engineer or chemist will be able to identify those just by looking at this without the text identifier. But there, for us lay people, we we don't really know most of these elements by name or by symbol. What's CO? Anyone? Aliyah? What's CO? What's CU? Yvonne, I think she knows.
Aluminum. I don't know. Copper.
This one? CU, here. Can you see the mouse?
Calcium.
This one. CU.
Copper.
That's copper. CO is, it's usually blue, associated with the color blue.
Cobalt.
Cobalt blue. Very good. Okay. So the one here is aluminum. Yvonne kind of mentioned aluminum earlier. It's all the way here. So all these symbols here, all these short names pertain to the actual whole name. So these are abbreviations of the actual element. Okay. Sometimes we use this. This is the basically what I did with the title of our topic, elements. I simply removed some of the letters, well, all of the E's, and maintained the consonants. You can still read it as elements, or if you read it LMNTS, you read it past elements. Okay? Now, we have, just as we have a periodic table of elements, we have a periodic table of design. Okay? Now, this is how our periodic table of design looks like. It's a, what's the shape? What's the shape of our periodic table? The main shape. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Octagon. Pentagon.
Octagon, huh? It's a pentagon, okay? Surrounding the pentagon are what shapes? Edward,
Circle.
circles. You have 5 circles and
Rectangles.
5 rectangles, okay? Now, these shapes, these circles and rectangles, pertain to a certain element in the table, okay? So, by the way, the pentagon is your layout. The circles and rectangles are your elements. So, let's go with the first elements or the primary elements. We have character. Okay, the character is what enables you to identify a certain design or icon right away. For example, if I've shown you the design of this design, I keep forgetting that we have this. Pardon me. We have this. Can you see my board, everyone? Can you see my board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, if I draw a certain shape like this, what is this? What does it look like? Can you
Heart.
see it? Orange?
Heart.
Heart?
Heart.
Heart?
Heart.
Does it look like a heart? This is a heart.
I'm so
Right?
wrong.
So what is this?
Apple.
Beam.
Apple.
I do it like this. Now, even though my shape isn't accurate, you know that it's the Apple logo. I'm impinging on Apple right now. Well, not really, because we're just demonstrating it. Now, that's the character, okay? Next, we have, the color. Usually, when you see the Apple logo, what color is it colored with? What's the usual color of Apple?
White.
It's usually white, or the reverse of white,
Black.
black. Okay, black or white. But previously, if you know the one of the original logos of Apple, it looks like a Pride logo because it's an apple with a bite and has 5 rainbow colors. Okay, and then throughout the years, Apple evolved its colors. The shape remains the same, but it evolved its colors to different colors like silver, gradient, uh, multiple colors. If you've seen the first iMacs, okay, and the first iBooks that looks like a toilet seat, okay, they use multiple colors for that as well. Now, let's continue. We also have composition, okay, and then we have contrast. What is composition? It's how you compose or put things, sorry, how you put things together in a layout. Contrast, it's how you create the differentiation between your background and your foreground. And of course, consistency. Okay, you cannot combine all of these elements without thinking about consistency. It has to be consistent, especially if you're doing multiple layouts of the same item or same brand, different variants. You will see that later on. So the 5 corners of our periodic table are the 5 C's. Okay, character, color, composition, contrast, and consistency. Now, how about the sides? Uh, Take note, this looks like a lesson in Adobe Illustrator. The 5 corners are your points, okay? The 5 sides are your paths, okay? You cannot create a line or a path here between the two without the 2 points. Okay, so in between character and color, you have a balance. Okay, you need to balance your icon with everything else. Okay, it applies to everything else. You need to unify. Okay, you need to unite everything, to unify everything. Your character, color, composition, your contrast, and consistency must be unified as a single unit. Otherwise, it would look as if it's a campaign material. Okay? I got distracted there. Uh, with balance and unity, you need to harmonize things. Have you heard of choir group that have at least 1 or 2 people that are off key? There's no harmony. Okay? What is harmony? You have the main vocal or the main tune, and then you have the second and third voice and fourth voice. If those don't harmonize, it sounds bad. Okay? Like screeching noises. Uh, Harmony in nature, like the rustling of trees with the wind. That's harmony. Uh, the croaking of frogs with the chirping of crickets, that's harmony. Okay, although sometimes some people do find those things annoying, especially if they're trying to sleep. But here in the city, we hardly hear those sounds anymore. In the countryside, I still kind of hear frogs and crickets chirping. Okay, and then with balance, unity, and harmony, there are always elements that are going to be dominant from other elements. Or 2 or more elements are co-dominant, meaning they're both dominant, but they balance each other out. Okay, you will see that later on. And of course, sometimes to break the monotony, you need to do repetition. Pardon me. Okay, so let's continue. First and foremost, the character. This is the most important element. This is the first element. Without this element, you don't really have anything anywhere to go. Okay, this is your starting point. Okay, whenever you get a client, whenever you get a project, the first thing that you will have to determine is what is the character. So, when someone hires you, okay, what's the character? The name of the company. What's the project? Okay, the name of the product. Those are your main characters. Okay, the company and the product. What's the product? Let's say soft drinks again. Cool Joy. That sounds like a stupid name for a product, Cool Joy. Okay, anyway, the character is the icon, the logo, logotype, or the name itself of the identity. Okay, you cannot have an identity without any of these or a combination thereof. There are certain logos that are playful. There are certain logos that are serious, and they define the identity of the design. As such, if I show you these, they are very identifiable icons or characters. For example, this one, I've shown you this earlier. What's this? Everyone, what's this? The first one.
Apple.
Like,
Apple. We all agree that this is the Apple logo. This is one of the most recognizable icons in the group. Well, they're actually all recognizable. How about the second one? What's this?
Nike.
Edward.
Nike.
Nike.
Nike. Do you agree, Ivana? Okay. So this is Nike. This is pronounced Nike. When I was younger, I pronounced this Nike. I was corrected later on by one of the creative directors. It's pronounced Nike. But do you know what Nike pertains to? Who is Nike? Anyone? Anyone knows? Have you,
Top of my head, parang last vow before the execution of the prisoner. I, ano eh, I don't remember much. Eh.
it's not that dramatic. It's not that.
Mm.
Anyway, uh, have you watched the movie A Knight's Tale? Has anyone here watched? You haven't? Okay, I'm running out of pop culture references because these are just recent movies. Heath Ledger, okay? Uh, it's a modern day telling of a knight. He, he was... Anyway, in one of the scenes, the blacksmith, who is a woman, okay? Can you see the contrast there? Can you see the irony there? Do you see the puns that I've been making? The contrast, the irony, blacksmith, woman. No? Anyway, so one of the scenes, she was carving this symbol twice over. Okay? So, Nike, this is the symbol for victory. Okay? She explained that she's the goddess of victory. Okay? So, next time you see the logo, you'll remind yourself that Nike is the goddess of victory. And what is Nike all about? It's about, starts with an S. Not really just sports, okay? Nike is about sports. Okay? They sell sports products and accessories. The third one, what is this logo all about? If you are rich, you know that this is what this is about.
Mercedes.
Mercedes Benz, okay? And last but not least is the most famous icon of them all. It you can forget all of the other icons here, but this is the most recognizable. This is Hugh Hefner's symbol, the Playboy bunny icon. Okay. Now, what makes a logo? The anatomy of a logo. What makes a logo? Okay, how do we determine the shape of the logo? How are logos or icons developed? Of course, it starts from scratch. You have a concept, you have a product, you have something to sell. You need a logo for that. As such, the reason why I got distracted earlier is because I got a message uh, from someone asking me to design a logo for a medical oil. Okay, okay, I'm gonna have to develop uh, a logo for her. I've developed another logo. You've seen this before, Ivana, the Presado Farms. Okay, that logo I did. I'm going to do another one for her. Anyway, uh, how do we do logos? First and foremost, we need the shapes. Okay. Now, the circle is probably the most common shape used in logos. You can see this anywhere. The Apple logo is almost a circle. Okay. What logos can you identify or can you cite right now that are circles? One by one. Yvonne first. Yvonne, can you hear me, Yvonne?
Sure.
What logo can you think of that's a circle? Medyo matagal na tayo. We haven't been going out lately, so when you're
EPS
pardon?
logos.
Let's go to Aliyah first. She has an idea what it is.
Circle logo.
Yes. Can you
Sample.
sample? Yes.
ABS-CBN or Pepsi.
Okay. AB, Pepsi and ABS-CBN. How about you, Edward? Circle logo.
Pepsi.
She already mentioned Pepsi, Aliyah. Aliyah cheated. She cited two. We only need one. Yvonne?
Um, Pinterest.
Pardon?
Pinterest.
Pinterest. Is Pinterest circular now? Circular with a P?
Mm.
They're not using the pin anymore? The pin with a P anymore? Anyway, we'll check it later. How about you, Ivana? Circle logo.
I think a lot of cars are using the circle, like Volkswagen or Mercedes-Benz,
Okay.
or Opel has also circle.
Okay. Most of most of them, okay, are using circles. Edward, you can do it. No, you've already had your turn, Aliyah. Edward, you haven't had coffee recently?
Uh, Ali is laughing, huh?
Don't worry, you're not graded for this. This is
uh,
okay. Let's
sun, sun,
sun.
sun
Very good.
logo
Sun. The cellular
is
or the Sun, the newspaper. Okay. Anyway, so Aliyah, you were excited to tell me something. What did you want to say earlier, Aliyah?
I'm gonna say Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks. That's what I'm thinking as well. I have coffee. Now, let's continue. What more shapes do we know? We have, of course, these shapes, the regular shapes, the regular polygons, and of course, the stars. We've seen, uh, we've seen these, okay? But in particular, let's uh, let's identify a logo or a company or a brand that uses the star as its logo. Who wants to go first? Yvonne, if you drive, you'll find this very, very common. And if you're running out of gas, yes, Aliyah,
Ay, Caltex.
Caltex, same, Yvonne.
Yes, yes. Same.
What? Okay, uh, what other company or brand or symbol can you identify using the star? Edward, anything?
Captain America shield.
Okay. How about you, Ivana? Philippine Star. The name itself, Philippine Star. Although I'm not sure if they have star in their name anymore. Okay. Now, to continue, of course, you have combined shapes. You combine shapes to form a different logo or different icon or a different compound shape. In this case, this is
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey
Mickey
Mouse.
Mouse. Okay, also connected with what particular brand?
Disney.
Disney. Okay, the hidden Mickey. Usually, when you watch something that's made with Disney, you look for this. Okay, or sometimes you don't look for this; it just pops out. Okay, there's a series in Disney series called The Hidden Mickey, and can you find the Hidden Mickey? Okay, no fail. Ever since Disney series, Disney cartoons, and uh, movies have started, there's always a hidden Mickey somewhere, at least in most cases. And of course, last but not the least, we have the logo type. Logo type doesn't have an icon or a shape or a symbol, just type. So there's plenty of these around. We'll not discuss it, but I want you to list down, okay, what companies or brands or icon or products that you know of that's just using logo type. List it down, and we'll check it later. Okay. Okay? Agree, everyone? Now,
Yeah.
the evolution of identity. Certain identities, so certain logos, certain icons doesn't stay the same. Okay? Most of them change throughout the years. In particular, okay, when an identity becomes established, they no longer change. But some people do. Some icons do. Okay? For example, these two competitors have been at it for the longest time. Ivana, we had this in branding. You've taken my branding, right? Okay. So Coca-Cola started first in 1886 with just a plain text logo. Coca-Cola is the very one of the very first that uses logo type as its icon, okay, or its brand identifier. Now, in 1898, Pepsi Cola released its own product. But okay, before we proceed, what is Coke and Pepsi all about when they came out? Yvonne, you know the legend behind the urban legend behind Coca-Cola and Pepsi. What are they? Pardon?
Soda manufacturer.
No. How about you, Aliyah? What's the story behind? Okay, be honest. If you don't know the answer, it's okay to say you don't know the answer. Edward, what is Coke and Pepsi all about when they were first released?
Uh, no, I don't.
Okay, Ivana, have any idea?
Not sure. Was it like medicine?
Yes, it's medicine. Okay, they were peddled. Okay, there's snake oil. It's a cure all. If you drink this, you will feel better. If you have a cold, you will feel better. You will lose the cold. You have uh, if you have body pain, you will feel better. Okay, they are peddled as medicine, but they're not really medicine. Okay, they're not really effective uh, in curing anything. But what's the other legend behind Coca-Cola? Why is it called Coca-Cola? Edward, what active ingredient did Coke have back then? This is just urban myth, urban legend, okay?
I
It's not.
Okay.
but I read somewhere that it's beverage. I'm not sure.
No. What's the active ingredient in
I no,
Coca-Cola?
no idea.
Who said that? Yvonne? Aliyah?
Not sure. Cocaine?
Cocaine. Okay, and in Pepsi, it's peptin. Okay, Pepsi for peptin, cocaine for Coca-Cola. That's the reason why in later versions of it, it also have it was shortened as Coke. Okay, and they had a few problems before being identified as such. Are you going to buy Coke? Okay, that's kind of dangerous when you're talking to a police officer. Are you going to buy Coke somewhere? Don't say it when you're somewhere shady. Okay. Anyway, you can see that all throughout the years after Coca-Cola established uh, its main identifier here, okay, the script form, it basically stayed the same throughout the years, like so. Okay? Of course, this is actually an add-on. Okay, when they introduced the Coke in cans, this one has it. And then they introduced the swoosh here. Okay, the wave. Okay, the swoosh wave is introduced. And it became integral, it became part of the Coke identity. Okay, and still, it maintains its own original shape here. Basically, it hasn't changed at all. Now look at Pepsi. Pepsi changed from one iteration to another so much. Here, basically, it stays the same, but here, it dropped the script form altogether. It doesn't want to be identified with Coke anymore. Okay, it started using the two colors, or three colors, red, white, and blue for what? What is the red, white, and blue usually identified with? Aliyah. Edward, you mentioned something about shield earlier. Red, white, and blue is usually
American
the
color,
the US flag
US
usually,
flag.
okay? But take note that the UK flag is also red, white, and blue, correct? Okay, anyway, uh, here it changed like so. This is my favorite actually. This is my most favorite version, the 1991. The 1991 version is I think it's 1973 when Michael Jackson burned his hair in one of the commercials. Okay, Now, this is the most recent iteration here. I don't like it. It looks like, it just came from somewhere. And can you guess how much they paid the designer for this, or the ad agency for this logo here? Can you guess? We don't know. We don't know the. Do a little bit of research later on with regards to certain popular brands, okay? But they paid a cool 1 million smackers, or $1 million for this logo, okay? Now it looks as if there's no logic behind it, but there's actually an explanation. There's actually a design process for this, and we've done this in branding. Okay, we've shown this in branding as well. But let's continue. Okay, some other logos have also evolved. I mentioned this earlier about the Apple logo using the rainbow colors. But previously, its original logo was this. I don't even understand this. This is Apple Computers Co. or CO. Okay? And it has an apple tree here, an apple orchard. Literally, an apple tree. And then it evolved into this later on. The shape has changed. The shape stayed the same. Only the colors changed. Now, with shell, it was literally a mollusk here. And then they used the oyster shell, and it has very much stayed the same throughout the years until, of course, they used the red and yellow color scheme. Now, what else uses the red and color scheme?
Makdo.
Not food.
Nikon.
Nope. Nikon is yellow. Correct? Nikon is yellow.
Kodak.
Kodak. Okay. I thought you were going to say Canon. Canon is actually red. Okay. It's not black here. But of course, I did not include the black here anymore. Okay. So Kodak and Shell uses the same color, but of course, Kodak is a K with a box. Okay? Now, GE over the years stayed very much the same, or General Electric, and funny enough, well, amusing enough, not really funny, but amusing, Canon is a Taiwan brand, and it's actually spelled back then as Quanon. Okay? Of course, uh, much like Kodak, when we say Kodak, Kodak is synonymous to photography, especially back then, especially with Filipinos. We have the term Kodakan. When you say Kodakan, we're gonna take pictures. Okay. Now, when you say uh, please Xerox this, what do we actually mean, Edward?
Photocopy.
Photocopying. So it makes Xerox synonymous to that activity, photocopying. Please Xerox this when they actually mean please photocopy this. Okay? That Xerox became synonymous with photocopying. How about toothpaste? What's the first brand that comes to mind when it comes to toothpaste? This is a Filipino
Colgate.
thing. Colgate. Bumili ka nga, please buy toothpaste. Please buy Colgate. What brand? Pepsodent. Okay? Ano? So, I'm not sure. I think I already related this story to you, Ivana, right? The Colgate thing. Now, here with, this is Volkswagen. okay, Volkswagen, and then BMW. I've seen a video somewhere that when you rotate this fast enough, the Volkswagen logo, it becomes the swastika. I'll try to find the video later on. Now, let's continue. After this, we can take a quick break. Okay. Color. Now, most designs follow a certain psychology in color choices, meaning you mentioned earlier McDonald's. What's the color of McDonald's? What's the main color of McDonald's?
Yellow.
Yellow. How about Jollibee?
Red.
How about Mang Inasal?
Green.
Green.
How about what's that? Pancake House.
Orange.
Orange. Okay. Wherever you go, you'll see that certain colors go together with food. Certain colors go together with drinks, so on and so forth. Okay. So these choices, these color choices are crucial on how it blends with the layout itself and on the other elements as well. Okay, so what is this? Anyone? Everyone, what is this? Edward,
Color wheel.
Yvonne,
Color wheel.
color wheel. Does everyone agree? Is this the color wheel? This is not some magic voodoo or sorcery stuff. Okay? But it kind of is sorcery because this can determine your color combinations. As such, using the color wheel, we will be able to determine color combinations. Now, we can use Adobe Illustrator's color guide to help us combine colors, okay? Or select color combinations for that matter. Combine colors and color combinations. Use color combinations, okay? This started with CS3 and it's very, very powerful, okay? You can create certain instances of colors that you might seem, it might seem impossible to you to combine, okay? So here you have complementary. This is, earlier on, what product did we see that using this color scheme? Everyone, this one, the first one,
Go.
this one here. What products did we see earlier on using this combination?
Pringles.
Pringles, the red and the green, okay? They are complementary colors. When you choose red, it's opposite. When you choose red, it's opposite the color wheel. So green and red are complementary colors. Not complete, but complementary colors. Now, red, 90 degrees here, okay, is your supplementary color. Supplementary color here. So, whenever you combine red and blue, okay, like for example, Philippine flag, they are complementary colors. Red and yellow, or orange for that matter, okay, what usually do you see uses this color scheme? We mentioned it earlier. We go around, color of Jollibee, color of McDonald's, okay? Anything that's related to food, they use these colors, okay? So, let's continue. Aside from here, if you don't, there's also Photoshop and InDesign, but they're a bit limited when it comes to the color guide. You can go online, okay? You have the link here. Okay, Colors of the Web, Color Wizard. Now, in the website, they have updated this, but they have this old version here, which is more convenient than the newer version. This is easier to use. This is more flexible because you can see all the color combinations right away. Okay. In the newer version, you can still do that, but you have to click on. You'll only see boxes, which is kind of boring. Anyway, basic color theory. Okay. In design, the most common color combinations are analogous and complementary. Okay. So this is analogous, meaning they are closer to each other in the color wheel. So uh, green has the component of yellow and blue. Okay. Now there's also complementary, which is these are both salads. This is green salad. This is vegetable salad, meaning you have red, you have violet, you have brown, and some other colors. Okay, these are complementary colors. Now, when you go to the supermarket or even in the wet market, you'll often find this kind of arrangement in rainbow or this looks more appealing to you because of how the colors are arranged. Okay, so when you see this actually encourages you to buy stuff. Okay, in such a way that certain brands are also or certain products for that matter are arranged in such a way in supermarkets that when you go to a certain one, say you have the sugar on one place and on one end and you have the coffee at the other end. Why is that done? It's a natural question. You have to answer. You have to guess. Okay? At one end, you have the coffee. At the farther end, you have the sugar. Next to the fruits, next to the somewhere in the middle is cream. Why is that? Well, usually coffee and cream. Actually, no. Coffee, cream, and milk in one section, and then sugar. Why do they do that? Why not all at the same place? Anyone? Okay? If you have all of the stuff you need in one section, what happens to the sections here? Okay? You do that, supermarkets do that to encourage impulse buying. So when you pass along these aisles that do not have the things you need, they might have the things you want or seem to need. Okay? So, quick quiz. After this, we can take our break. Based on what we've seen earlier, what color rule is this?
Complementary.
It's complementary. You have reds and greens. Okay? So this is complementary. This should be a little bit predictable now. How about this? If this is complementary, what's this? What's the other one? Starts with an A. Ah, mm,
Analogous.
Analogous.
analogous, okay? Because it all contains elements of red. Okay? Next, complementary or analogous? It's just one of the two.
Complementary.
It's still complementary. You have blues and reds as well. They are complementary. And this one, of course, is
Analogous.
Analogous.
okay. So you have four sets that are complementary and analogous to each other. But what is this? Is this complementary or analogous? Trick question.
That's a different shades of red.
Very good. Ivana's been studying. These are shades of red. If these are shades, what are these? What's the opposite of shades? Yvonne, starts with the letter. What are you going? What were you going to say?
You.
U. Okay. Just to clarify, U is your color. Red is a U. Green is a U. Okay. Blue is a U. Yellow is a U. So those are U's. When you're talking about a particular color, you're talking about the U. So a shade is a certain hue or color to which you add percentages of black. That's the reason why it's called a shade. That's the reason why when you go under a tree during a sunny day, what's that thing under the tree? What does the tree provide you?
Shade.
Shade. Okay, it's a little bit darker than outside the tree. So if this is a shade, this is what? Starts with the letter T.
Tones. Tint.
Tint. Okay? Tone is actually more related to the percentage of ink on paper. But they're similar. Tint is it's a lighter version of this, which is also a tone on paper. Okay? They're very, very closely related. So tone or tints. Okay? Composition. Okay. You know how I'm also a songwriter, by the way. I compose songs. In order to compose songs, I need a few things to consider. For example, I need the melody of the song, okay, to fit the lyrics and vice versa. So in most cases, when I start writing a song, I usually start with the melody first. Very rarely do I start with the lyrics first. Sometimes I have an idea. Let's say, for example, I was one of the songs I've written is went something like this. I was in a market getting stuff, okay, and then uh, as I uh, boarded the jeep, okay, the jeepney, excuse me. As I boarded the jeepney, it started to rain, okay, and that gave me an idea. The song is Tagalog. The lyrics is "Hayan na naman ang ulan." Uh, can you understand that, Ivana? No? Here comes the rain again. Okay, you know the song by Annie Lennox. Here comes the rain again. It's not like that. Okay, it's a different melody. It's a different tune, and it was an inspiration of sorts because of the falling rain. So after that, I quickly wrote the song, and it's about being stuck in the rain, uh, experiencing a lot of things, just waiting or looking for someone. Okay. Now, and that someone doesn't care that I'm being drenched in the rain. Anyway, it's similar in graphic design, how to compose things. You need to start with a blank sheet of paper, and then you have an idea, and then you have those elements that you put and compose together as you uh, get details. Okay, you get a creative brief. You get details. You get photos from the client. You get text from the client, or sometimes the client will ask you, "Okay, can you do the copy for us?" Or we don't have stock photography. We don't have actual photos, but we have an idea. They'll give you what we call as pegs. Okay, Pegs are representations of the actual thing that they want to do later on. So sometimes we also do shoot. Uh, we shoot in the format of the pegs, okay? And I've directed a few of those. Now, in composition, it's about how elements of the design are combined, and it's the general overall layout, combining, as I mentioned earlier, the copy, identity, stock, and anything else that you might require. Now, when I was given this project, I did a few months consultancy with Kenny Rogers. Okay, this is the first thing that I encountered. The graphic designer, their in-house designer, was doing this layout. They don't have a headline yet. Okay, only the buy one get one free here. Okay, that's all they had plus the layout here. Oh, I'm seeing double. I just blurted that out. I'm seeing double. It became the main tagline for the brochure here. So sometimes just blurting out things becomes a good idea. Even bad ideas can become good ideas when you develop it. So here, composition wise, what were the elements? Okay, the elements are your stock photos. This is actually the same photo here, just replicated. I would have done it a little bit different in such a way that I would have changed a few things here so they don't look the same thing. Okay, they will look slightly different. I will change a few things in the chicken. It will be the same chicken, but I will edit this a little bit to make it slightly different from the other photo to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, but this is the initial study, so I'm not sure if they changed or followed my suggestion earlier. Now, what are the elements here? You have the photos, you have the copy, you have the tagline, you have the sub tag, and then you also have the identity of the product itself. The company itself, which is Kenny Rogers. Okay, and then they have a small violator here. This is how you compose stuff. Now, this might not be an ideal layout for some, but for this specific purpose, it's an okay. It's a good layout. Now, in contrast, this is relatively a simple layout. This is a more complex layout because you have a lot more elements, more stock, a lot more text to deal with. Okay, and then you also have sidebars. You have two sidebars here, and you have, well, this is kind of a footer. Okay, so how do you make it as such that uh, each part are still distinct from the other parts? This is one part. This is one part here. This is one part here. Although they are different parts, they support the main section here. So since this is more of advertorial, okay, the layout isn't really that fancy. But of course, uh, the composition of the text with the colors plus how the photos are arranged depending on the text it supports, okay, gives the composition a little bit more natural feel to it. Now, contrast. What is contrast? When you get a TV, do you still adjust the brightness and contrast? I'm asking. I'm asking you. Do you still adjust contrast? Yvonne, when you get a TV, when you watch something, do you still adjust the contrast or the brightness?
Sometimes, not much.
When you're watching, sometimes, okay, sometimes, depending on what you're watching, because sometimes the thing that you're watching is too dark or too bright, so you adjust the brightness and contrast. Uh, let's just look at the screen right now. It's how elements magnify each other's relevance. Okay, just because they're highly contrast doesn't mean that one element is more relevant than the other. They are basically supporting each other's relevance. For example, here, the background is dark for Hershey's. The background is dark. Hershey's itself is in high contrast in white or light gray. Whereas in Toblerone's case, the background is light and the color of the word Toblerone is red. They're still high contrast. Okay? Now, if you've seen some layouts that are dark and dark, it's difficult to see. That's not a good contrast. Or light on light, that's not a good contrast. Okay? It's the same thing as watching a movie that's dark in a dark room. Okay? Or sometimes the opposite happens. You're watching something dark in a bright setting, and sometimes you have to adjust either the lighting or the brightness of your screen. In some cases also we do this in previously in graphic design when we still had that cathode ray tube monitor, those huge humongous things that we have to cover because of the the light, the overhead light interferes with the perception of color. Still happens today, but of course it's minimal now because of how LCDs and LEDs are designed. Okay, so here, do we have good contrast here on this Philippine Internet Review? Do we have good contrast? Can you read the text here? Can you? Does
Not
everyone?
that much.
Not that much, not very much contrast because uh, the image is too small. But if I increase, can you read it now?
Yes.
It's readable because this is the actual size of this is the cover for a catalog or a brochure for that matter. Okay, so let me just bring it back to there. Next, we have this. How about this one? This is the cover for a info comic. This one, the Lafarge thing. Can you read everything? No?
No.
Oh, okay, so let's zoom in again. Let's keep there. Can you read it? Is the contrast good? There's
Yes.
good. Okay, there's good enough contrast. Okay. Now the trick here is, in some cases, when you have an almost an even background, okay, what we do here is put that, okay, put a black outline, okay. The reverse is true. When you have a dark text over a light background, you reverse the text as well and put an outline, okay. Oops, sorry. Am I okay? I think I'm over the top. Now, how about this one? This should be, this is a good contrast. Okay. Now, this one is an example of, well, it has good enough contrast, but for me, right now, when I realize it, I did this more than 20 years ago. This is a bad layout. Okay. I've also done those things back there. Okay, this is a bad layout. You cannot see the 10, right? Okay, you cannot see the 10. Back then, we graphic designers love doing these kind of layouts, this kind of dark background thing. Okay, and this one, as I realize it now, this is a bad font choice. Okay, this is not a good font choice. Now, although I won't do this kind of layout anymore. And here you can't even identify what's happening here anymore. Can't even identify the image anymore. So I don't even remember what this is. Uh, I do remember that this is a saxophonist. This is a guitarist. I think this is I can't remember anymore. Okay, so this one here, the one at the bottom. Anyway, that's besides the point. So let's continue. Okay, so you can see now why contrast is very, very important. Consistency. Okay, you have to be very consistent in the use of your elements. You cannot use two varied colors. You cannot use certain layouts, certain shape combinations. Now, here are the proper colors used. Are the elements working together? Is the typeface count rule being followed? Are you aware of the typeface count rule? Are you aware of it? So what in the blazes is that? Okay. Now the typeface count rule uses a certain number. Okay, and that number is applicable across the board, applicable among a lot of things. So what is the typeface count rule? You have one for the money, two for the show. No. So one is okay. Meaning if you use a single font or typeface, you're set to go. Two, if one is okay, two is no. One is okay. Two is
Still
one.
okay.
Is okay.
Letter
Not okay.
Two is enough. Okay, meaning you're done for the day when you use two fonts. But then again, there are certain layouts that you can actually play around with a lot of fonts, like those fancy layouts with several typefaces and several shape typefaces. You can do that for certain styles. Now, for most corporate stuff, you cannot use any more than two. Okay, you have the headline and the body. Now, if two is enough, three is what? Three is
Too much.
too much. Okay? Okay. Three. There's an exception to this rule. Okay? When you have two typefaces used for headline and body, a third typeface or font can be used for violators. Okay, or at least for descriptions. That's not really part of the main layout, but is supporting the layout. Now, this 1, 2, 3 rule, okay, the third rule, where do you find or where do you hear the third rule being mentioned? Rule of thirds. In
photography.
photography, meaning you crop somewhere, you crop the subject somewhere on the third of the entire frame, okay, either vertical or horizontal, to make it look more interesting, to give more emphasis to the background. Okay, so if your subject is the foreground, your background will have more elements in that area. Now, in some cases, we don't really follow that rule when shooting. We follow that rule when cropping. Okay, nobody really, especially if the shoot or the product is going to be used for multiple purposes, we shoot center frame and then crop as necessary afterwards. Or we shoot three times. We shoot one, the subject is on the left, the subject is on the middle, is at the middle, and the subject is on the right. Okay? So that's what we normally do. Or we shoot 30 times. Especially now, when clients realize that you can shoot as many times without adding to the cost anymore. Because previously, how did we shoot? What did we use? We used film. Film costs a lot of money. Nowadays, we just have the SD card or the
Yes.
compact flash card. You can shoot as many photos as you want as your SD card or memory card can be filled in or filled with or can carry. Okay, so anyway, this is in some cases, in most cases, this is your applicable rule. Now, although this is a very strange layout, this is just a demonstration. Okay, can you read the script here? No, you can't.
Go
Read.
to hell.
Go to hell.
Go to hell. Okay. In context, okay, you won't be able to read the script form right away without reading this. Okay. So our color combination is red and yellow. But if you read this, a diplomat is a person who can tell you to. That's how you interpolate go to hell, because in such a way that you actually look forward to the trip. It's a continuous thing. Although the middle thing here is in in great contrast with the other elements. Also, rule of thirds. You have 1, 2, 3. 1/3 of the page. 1/3 of the height of the page. 1/3 of the frame. Questions? No questions? Okay. We have a few more things to discuss. Now, are the proper colors used? Are the elements working together? Is the typeface count rule being followed? Now, I'm showing you examples of my work because I don't really want to be unprofessional to show you other people's work that are okay, unless, of course, I get permission from them. Of course, in another topic, I do use other people's work because, and some of my work as well. Here is one of my products. When I say my products, it's actually I work for them. Okay, I just like using that term. So here, to be consistent, okay, the only font different there is the R2. Okay, here this is a logo type, so I cannot do anything about it. Okay, and this here is the information violator, meaning I cannot do anything else here. I cannot change the font anymore, although I can because I'm the one who designed the logo. So let's zoom in. Sorry. Okay. So now I have two fonts here. This one here, this is Helvetica. This is not a second font. This is also Helvetica, but a different style. Okay. This is Helvetica family. This one is Myriad. So I did not use any more than two fonts or typefaces for that matter. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the logo type, this is Futura. Okay. Is it Futura? Anyway, and this is Myriad as well. Okay. When I develop their logo, their identity here, okay, this is the exclusive distributor of the product here in the Philippines. Okay, I used my favorite font, which is Myriad. as well. So, let's see here. Sorry. Can I still? Okay. So let's see here, the logo itself. What does the logo remind you of? This one. Everyone? What does the logo remind you of?
Captain America.
Captain America again. Well, what's the name of the company? Top American Product Solution. So yeah, Captain America. What are the colors? You have the red, white, and blue as well. Okay? And I have like 5 studies for this. Automatically, they saw this. Okay, that's our logo. Okay? Questions? Now, this also follows the rule of thirds. Okay, this is the logo here uses 1/3 of the vertical frame. This one uses 1/3 of the horizontal frame. This is a third uses the rule of thirds. Okay, so you can see everywhere that there's the rule of 3. Now, to be consistent, if I have this format on the cover and back cover, this one folds in, this one is the inside. Okay? To be consistent, I use the same colors and fonts as well. Of course, we have a certain color here that's not in the main color scheme. But this color, the orange color, is part of the product here, like so. It's on the product. The orange highlight that you see here is what is used to highlight what's on the product name here. Okay? Questions? No questions? Now, in terms of consistency, what color do you see here? What color? What's the main color? What's the
Orange.
main color?
Orange.
Orange. Something like red-orange, okay? So, in order to be consistent with the layout, we use a certain font here, we use a certain color scheme, okay? We use a certain layout format. It should go to show that everything else, every product in the line will have the same format and use the same color scheme. What colors harmony rule is this? Complementary or what? This is
Analogous.
analogous. It uses the element of red. Okay, the analogous colors of red. Okay. Now, also take note. I've directed all of these photo shoots. Okay. Here, this one is problematic for the designer because when they gave me the peg, they showed me exactly the same thing. My mistake was I followed the same exact framing. The designer, the art director complained to me, "Sir, we don't have enough frame, we don't have enough space to play around. So lesson learned, always frame, always frame your object smaller, okay? Or use a larger frame, meaning you still have enough space to work around with. Now, this one here, when we shot this, does it look like he's in the office? I already gave you a hint there. Does it look like he's in the office? Let me zoom in.
Yes.
It does. Brian, was that you?
Yes.
Okay, everyone else. Does it look like he's in the office?
Yes.
It
Yes.
does, right? It does. But no, he's not. This is actually a backdrop. And this is shot in the studio. Now, all of these shots that you see right now were shot by a single photographer at different occasions. He's Louis Aguinaldo. He's a distant relative of Emilio Aguinaldo. Anyway, this guy, this photographer, when I describe a certain lighting condition to him, we will have this in the office, but uh, it can be converted later on to outside lighting. When he mixes lights, it's actually transmutable or transposable from indoor and outdoor. That's how good he is. So this one, the table that we use, the reason why this is cropped this tight, the table that we use is just a common, that foldable table that we can see in the carinderia. Okay, and it's an ugly table. So we just hid the table with props, and that's the reason why it's tight. But this one was composited in Photoshop. The background itself, the backdrop is a separate photo. It's a stock photo. And the same as this one here. This one was shot in the studio. This one is a little bit more obvious because of the hair. The hair is one of the most difficult things to edit out when you're transferring a subject to another background. But it's good enough, okay? And I actually had a crush on her, okay? Kathy Moya. Anyway, let's continue. A few more interesting things. Now, this guy looks like he's smirking, like he's avoiding the girl, right? They're not really, they're not couple. They're not a couple. All of these people, except, of course, the model here, she's the professional model. All of the other models were in-house, meaning they're employees of the bank. This guy here brought his girlfriend. And you can see, and he's not reacting that way because the girlfriend is there. Now, I was a stand-in. You know what a stand-in is? The stand-in is the temporary person who does the rehearsal before the actual model. Okay? So imagine me behind him trying to kiss him. That's the reason why he's smirking that way, because he's not a professional model. He does not know how to what's this? I'm using this
Project.
term. Not project. Later.
Act.
That too. Uh, anyway, when I was doing this, he was always doing this motion, like avoiding me. Okay, probably smelled my breath or something. I was using mint. Anyway, so when it was the turn, it was a girl's turn to do the shoot. He still does this. He still did this. So, okay. Anyway, we got 30 shots and we got the best. Now these two here, I was amazed when they arrived separately. But when the lady, okay, they're beyond 50s, they're senior. When the lady arrived, they started talking as if they knew each other that well. I thought they were a couple, okay? The very, very first shot, when it appeared on the screen, okay, that's it. First shot, one shot thing. But we still took safety shots, okay? I just realized later on, they didn't, that was the first time they met. Okay, that's how good they are. They're not actors, okay? They're employees of the bank, but that's how professional they are, being employees of the bank for more than years. Now, this one, there's nothing really interesting here, except, of course, the face of the child or the kid was changed a little bit to make her resemble the mom a little bit because they're not related. Also, this is indoor, right? They're inside the house. This was shot outside, not studio. This was shot outside with just reflectors and not much flash. Okay, so any questions? Any questions? We're almost done. We're almost. Let me just breathe a while. Okay, so uh, if ever we can have another quick break, say 5-10 minutes in a little while. Okay, so balance. How do we balance all of these things? Now, in certain cases, balance literally means literally balance. Okay, I don't like using the word literally. Balance in design is similar to balance in physics. Remember, Ivana, in our basic, remember our seesaw exercise when using the pen? Remember that? Okay. In most cases, it's the same here in graphic design. Okay. It's a literal balance between two parts of the same whole. So is this balanced? Well, kinda, because it's cut almost exactly in the middle. So the top is balanced with the uh, bottom, high contrast here, light over dark, dark over light, and so on the same here. Now you'll see something similar later on as well. So when you don't have that luxury of having four variants and playing around with how to balance their elements, and you're stuck with this, how do you balance them out? Of course, this uses what rule? What rule? What rule does it use?
1/3.
One third, or the rule of thirds. One third. One third. Well, kinda one third, okay? One third rule, or the rule of third is not really that strict. You can be a bit flexible here, okay? So, how about this? This that does not use any rule at all, but I'm the one who did this. Okay, I'm also the one who did this because I had no choice. There was no other way for me to make this any smaller. Okay, the text is necessary. All of the text is necessary here because these are uh, contest instructions or contest mechanics. Otherwise, if, in contest mechanics, you have to be very concise and precise at the same time. Otherwise, it won't. You might have a mistake here. You might have a mistake in wording. You might have misworded or misphrased sentence. It can create confusion. So here, in order to create balance and contrast, I simply created this uh, box. We did this in some of the exercises here in PCCI, okay? And simply put the text there as plain black, okay? There's enough contrast, there's enough kind of balance, okay? But as much as possible, when I'm dealing with this much text, I try to avoid having to put this box here. In this case, I had no choice. Anyway, let's, after Unity, let's take a quick 5-10 minute break. Okay, Unity pertains mostly to shapes and textures. Okay, if you have an odd shape and an odd texture drawn together, it kind of looks weird. So in this case, it comes together, all the shapes, all the textures. By the way, a gradient is also technically a texture. The color combinations here can't do anything about that because this is the color of the exact symbol. Has anyone here played Pokemon at all? No? No one?
Me.
I don't care, Brian. Anyway, so uh, these colors are indicative of what the symbol is. So what's the symbol here? What's the symbol?
Leaf. Leaf.
So leaf is green, fire is
Red.
fire is red, water is
Water. Blue.
I don't remember what this is. Brian, what is this? The star thing.
I don't
Anyway,
remember.
I think
Hindi ko na rin
it's
matandaan. I
I think
can't
it's
remember also.
I think it's Earth. Okay, this one, the lightning symbol is Pikachu. What's Pikachu's power?
Lightning.
Like,
Lightning. Even though you haven't played the Pokemon, I'm pretty sure you've watched at least one Pokemon episode. I think Ivana's son heard me. She, he does not play Pokemon. He does not watch Pokemon.
I never showed him, so he doesn't know.
Okay. Forget about it. This one is
why?
the purple one with an eye is psychic powers, and this one is rock, not earth, but rock. The brown one with the star is rock. This one I forgot. I think this is strength. So these all correspond. The shapes correspond. Uh, the colors of the shape correspond to the icons they have. Okay, and the shape itself correspond to the main shape here, which is the Pokeball. Okay, of course, all of these icons here pertain to the icon to the Pokemon here or the animals here. As such, one of these is a leaf, is a leaf Pokemon, fire Pokemon, water Pokemon, rock Pokemon, so on and so forth. Okay, this is how harmony. This pertains to how colors combine to enhance certain elements of the design. So I mentioned earlier, this also has balance, and this is consistent across the board in terms of layout. Now, the four variants have different, are actually different flavors. As such, you have mint, orange, hazelnut, and milk chocolate. Now, Cadbury's original milk chocolate, who's that? Cadbury's original color variant is this bluish purple color. Okay, so uh, correspondingly, since this is milk chocolate and this is the original color, it simply uses that same color. Now, with the hazelnut, it uses brown because it's nuts. Orange, it uses the orange color. And mint uses the greenish, the mint green color as well. So individually, uh, you wouldn't notice the difference between the products. Okay, but when you put them together, you can see that each variant actually is harmonic with the rest. Okay, so it also balances out in the long run. Next, we have dominance. When we say dominance, one particular element dominates all the others. For example, this one, okay? Dominance, it breaks the monotony among other things. Now here, which is the dominant part? Okay, let's start with the color. Which is the dominant color?
Yellow.
Yellow. So in M&Ms, which are the two main colors? You have yellow and
Red.
red. Now the red pertains to the milk chocolate version, whereas the The yellow pertains
Peanut.
to the peanut version or variant. So here, which color is dominant? Yellow. Which product or which mascot is dominant? The yellow one or the peanut. Okay. Whereas the milk version or the milk mascot is behind the main logo. Okay. This, if you see the red box, I couldn't find the red box anywhere. Okay? If you see the red box, okay, you'll see that the position is reversed. The the red mascot is in front, the peanut is in, the yellow mascot is behind the M&M. Also, the logo itself is dominant. It shares dominance with the yellow mascot as well. Okay, look here at the side. What rule does it follow?
One
Rule,
third.
the one third or the rule of thirds. Okay, so if you note as well, this is also using the one third rule. One third rule. Okay, one third rule. 1, 2, 3. M&M is 1, 2, 3. So across the board, it kind of follows that logic. Okay. Next, which on this side, okay, on the power extreme battery, this is cover for the brochure. Which is dominant, the logo or the background?
The background.
Are you sure? Aliyah,
The logo.
the logo.
Logo.
Ivana, logo or background?
Logo.
Logo. How about you, Edward?
Both?
Both. Both are dominant. They share dominance in the page. The logo is big enough to be dominant against the background, but the background itself is dominant. Okay? They do not, they share dominance, but they do not counter each other. They also have direct contrast with each other. You can also see the contrast on the background that it represents a certain art lines or certain designs. Okay, so how about the one on the right? I take note. I no longer do this kind of layout because it's also a way. We've also veered away from this kind of layouts, especially with the rebranding of Proactive. So this one, which is dominant, obviously
Katy Perry.
it's the Katy Perry background. Okay, although even though she's the background, she's still dominant. It's the same here. They share dominance. Okay, the main one of the reasons why I don't really like this particular layout, but also it's, even though as a designer I don't like the layout, it's still effective as a material back then. Okay, it's because I have no control over the third rule here. Okay, I didn't have any control. I cannot make this any smaller to balance it out with the dominance here. If I made this a little bit smaller, she's too dominant. Okay, of course, here these are mandatories. I don't have any control here, but take note, okay, they share dominance as well. Of course, Glorieta and Ayala malls won't really allow themselves to be any smaller than this space here. There's actually a space allotted for the logos here. These are mandatories. I have no control over that positioning. Now, Repetition. Finally. Now, with repetition, we repeat certain elements to create a texture or a pattern. In Illustrator, we simply drag a certain object or set of objects into the swatches panel to create a pattern. It's repetition. It's the same here. These are objects that are repeated to highlight an area or section of a layout to create repeated objects or patterns. Okay, so here, what element or shape was repeated to create that pattern? What shape? Yvonne, what shape?
Hexagon.
It's a hexagon. What does the hexagon represent? In this case, what does it represent? What does the repetitive hexagon represent? What does it look like?
Connection, connecting.
Yes. What in nature do you where in nature do you see this pattern?
Honeycomb.
Honeycomb. Okay. The idea here is the company is like a beehive or well, worker bees, and they're all drones. No, not really. They work collectively as one. Okay, to uh, to set a standard. Okay, so the pattern here is actually irrelevant, but when you put it there, you get an idea of what the layout is all about. Now, here are a couple more examples. What is repeated here? Ignore this guy. It's not important. I'm kidding. Okay. There are times that the product's endorser does not agree with my opinion, so never mind that. So what are repeated here? What's the element that's repeated here?
The
Aliyah.
product.
The product. Okay, everyone, the product. Okay, proactive itself. So here, did we shoot this? All of them. Okay. Did we shoot this? Do you think we shot this as a single layout like this? No,
No.
why not? It would be fun if I did that. Shoot it that way so it looks as if it's a pattern of products. It would also be be challenging because how can you have even lighting across all the products? Okay, of course this is just a single set of products repeated over a layout. Okay, same here in Illustrator. There's this tool called the symbolism tool. I just created two symbols for this: the blue SM bottle cap and the Coke bottle cap, and sprayed away. Okay, so this one here, it doesn't have a definitive pattern unlike this one here or the hexagon previously. This one is like what? What do the tansans or what do the bottle caps represent?
Droplets of the soda.
Droplets, or when you open a can,
Bubbles.
bubbles. Okay, the fizz. Okay, so this is a promo between SM Supermarket 25th anniversary and Coca-Cola. Okay, so we're almost done. Effective use of type. Now, in graphic design, type or text is actually the most important thing. Okay, because you can do a layout without any other visuals, without any other elements. You can do a black and white text and it will still be interesting. The information will still be relayed properly. Okay? So, in design, the dominance of type, the size, the font size, the type that you use is very, very crucial. Okay? Type is a primary element of communication in any design project. You can use it as an identifier, meaning it's the logo type, or the description itself. Okay? The choice of typeface is significantly affects the overall look of your design. So when you're doing corporate, can you use grunge text? Can you?
No.
Should you? Should you? No? Will you? What if the client says, I want grunge text? Because the client, although it's corporate, is a grunge rocker. Will you still use that? Okay, you wouldn't advise that. Of course, it depends on the material itself. If the client is a corporate client, but they have a grunge rock party, of course, you can use those fonts. It's still specific to the project, not just the company, but the project the company is giving you. So if your client is a joke, it's a comedy club, but it's going to be something like a funeral or something like an awarding ceremony. You will not use joke fonts on those. Okay? So, this actually kind of represents what type is like when we're doing graphic design. Okay? The eye test. Of course, as you move downwards here, okay, the font size becomes relevant. Especially, we use the larger font sizes for headlines, okay, or for signages for that matter. The middle size or the mid-sized fonts for subheads, and the smaller type, okay, or the smallest size fonts for body text. Of course, personally, I have a limit with regards to the smallest font size. I avoid having to go below 6 points because anything below that is too small to read with the naked eye. Of course, we have reading glasses or magnifying glasses, but that's not really the point. The point is to make your layout as readable as possible without having to sacrifice readability to begin with. Okay? So, example of type as identifiers. Earlier on, what was our, uh, we'll need your list now. I asked you to make a list of logo types, right? Did you make the list? Are you, are you sure? Did everyone make the list? Let's start with Yvonne because you're on top right now on the screen.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts, okay? What, do you have anything more?
Yes.
Um,
Hershey's,
okay,
Subway,
okay.
Air Asia,
Air Asia and,
Chanel.
okay. You have a lot more?
Yeah, but okay na yun.
Uh, okay, let's limit it to four. Two to four should be okay. You're now Metabodius. Edward,
Manila Bulletin,
okay,
uh, Marvel, Marvel Comics,
okay.
mm,
Two is enough. Two is okay. If
uh,
you,
Nokia, and
Nokia.
Call a friend, ah.
and
Okay, one more. we'll get back to you.
Inquirer.
Inquirer, okay. So, Ivana, how about you? Logo types.
Yes, I have Netflix, Facebook, Nikon, and Canon.
Okay. What's the last one?
Canon.
Nikon and Canon.
Canon?
Okay. Canon. Okay. Aliyah.
Smart, Instagram, Louis Vuitton, Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network. Okay, those are good. Those are all good examples. But here are more common examples. You can recognize them. Chips Ahoy and Google, they're all type. Now, Google has changed their logo type in recent times. They made it uh, instead of this, they made it into something like this. Okay, so this is Jeep and PayPal. So, what do you recognize between these two and these two? What type of font are they using? This is called
Serif.
serif. This is
Sans
Sans serif.
serif.
sans serif. This is okay. So we have serif. This is not. I shot the serif. Never mind. But I did not shoot the sans serif. Okay. So the third type, the commonly used type, is special cases. This means they're not really a font, an available font, but specially designed typefaces or specifically used for the product itself. Okay? Any questions? No questions? Are you sure? Okay. So, that concludes our session for today. Thank you very much. See you again
Thank you,
soon.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you!